Welcome, everybody. Come on in. Awesome. We'll just wait, give people a little more time to get in here. Hey, Smoo. Welcome back, Lieutenant Sinclair. Maybe send a reminder out. Join the Chief Chat channel, folks. How's it going, Reynard? Hey, Whisper, long time. Just want to make sure we got everyone in here. We had, like, in the 90s, the first two session, 98, 99, maybe? I think the max is 99. So the big email went out yesterday. Hopefully that means that the word is out and we get more people in here who faces I haven't seen for a long time. Whisper. I love a good V12. I gotta tell you, the sound of a V12 is amazing. I don't have one, but I've heard one. Sinclair, no, I'm trying to give each stream the same information. There's a little bit of new info, just a small thing in the beginning. Not the majority of the presentation. Small but important. All right. Why don't we get started? For those of you who haven't seen the video yet, why don't we go ahead and play that, and then we'll begin. All right. How's it going, everyone? What's happening? Let me switch over. Uh-oh. Here we go. All right, everybody see what's on the screen? What does it look like? Any guesses? Some of you already know the answer. My backyard, I wish. Imagine if this was your view, Ronan. Maybe with the power of AI, we'll all be on the beach while the robots do the work. Well, this is literally Copa, ladies and gentlemen, and this is also very importantly a big change for us because this is not the Unreal Engine. This is actually an engine that we have created just for Ember, and there's going to be some big questions about that. One of them is why? Why create a new engine? But before I get into that, I have an announcement to make. Uh, we unfortunately picked the same name as another kaiju engine. And much to my chagrin, even though it's an internal name, we weren't going to market it or anything, that is a mess up on my part. And I spoke to the creator of the original kaiju engine. Brent, are you here? I invited him here. I think he's in chat right now. He's a longtime game programmer, 16-year veteran. There he is. And he has created a great engine in Go and Vulkan, just like we use Vulkan. And you could check it out at kaijuengine.com. It is much more generalized with tool sets that you could use. You can actually use this to make a game. Unlike our engine, which is very specific to Ember and only runs on our stuff, and we don't have like an editor like he has or anything else. But he's done a bang up job. It's been a passion and a hobby for his for many years. I would encourage you to go check it out if you want to try a Vulkan based engine running in Go. And we had a great chat this morning, and I'm happy to announce a new contest to name our engine. We're no longer going to be called the Kaiju engine. Even though we are a game about kaiju, there are many other names to pick from. So if you are a kaiju movie fan, if you are a fan of even Ultraman or any of that era of, Japanese movies, I am open to names in that genre. So we'll have details of the contest later because I just thought of it, and we will post that soon for you guys. And just like last time, we'll have another cool naming contest, and you guys can pick the name for this engine. All right, so I'm controlling it with controller right now because I don't like mouse movements in streams. I feel that they're a little herky jerky, and I want to answer the burning question, which is why create our own engine? What was wrong with Unreal? Well, I think the first obvious problem with what was wrong with Unreal is something you are all familiar with. Is it's taking too much time. It's taking too damn long for us to do anything in Unreal. And that's for a couple of reasons. One is Unreal is still very human based. And let's face it, we used AI to make this engine, and AI is orders of magnitude faster than any human. Even with the number of redos you have to do, even with the number of refactors, and we refactored this engine twice already, I still find it much, much faster. In fact, we have generated over 1.3 million lines of code, and we have thrown away a bunch of that to pare it down to about 300,000 lines of code. And we're still pruning, we're still improving. But to give you a comparison, for the last several years we worked on the project, we only had about 15,000 lines of C++ code. And if you count the blueprints and estimate that, probably about 65,000 lines or so of equivalent lines of code in blueprints. And that is just not acceptable. given that we're a small team and we only have volunteers working on the project aside from me, we needed to find a way to move a lot faster. So I took a big bet. I took a big bet back in January, February, and I said, can AI work with Unreal? And I had some challenges there. Even though recently they announced an MCP, which is a way for Unreal Engine to talk to AI, it's still not going to handle blueprints. And blueprints is where the majority of our game logic was. So the blueprints are going away. They announced that, but it won't be until 2027. And the engine was just not built for AI. It was just not built for it, and it's going to be slower to move with AI in Unreal than it would be in our own custom engine. So I wrote an engine that's AI first, that is designed to iterate very rapidly with data formats that are friendly to AI, text-based data formats, hot reloads, we can iterate very fast. And to give you an example, to do a full build of our game was 36 minutes on Unreal, and now that's down to 30 seconds. And that's extremely fast. And if you want to see what we've been up to for the past 5 months, you can see it down to the hour if you go to the URL that the mods will post here real quick. It will be progress.noclip360.com. And on that site, you will see a scrubber where you can go through every day of development, and you can see our check-ins down to the hour, and you can see all the features that we were building in the engine, times where we had to backtrack and redo stuff. I want to be really open about this, and so that progress tracker will be updated every time we drop a new demo, so that you can see the work that went into it beforehand. So hopefully you check that out. I would also say check out the main site, noclip360.com, if you want gaming news. As one of my first experiments with learning AI, I wrote a automated newsroom. They have 12 reporters with distinct personalities run by an editor-in-chief that posts gaming news every day at 6:30 or so in the morning. And it also has live feeds updated very rapidly from Steam, so that you can check that out as well. All right, so the big bet I made was that AI could do this, and the second big bet I made was, because I'm not a graphics renderer expert programmer, I was betting that if anything the AI couldn't do it now, if anything the AI could not do now, it could fix later, because the pace of AI development has been tremendous. We use these things called models like Grok and Claude and ChatGPT, and they come out with these coding agents. And it used to be they came out with them every 6 months. They're dropping almost every couple of weeks, and each one is better than the last. And the rate of improvement is actually exponential, not linear, if you go by time. So, and that has proved to be the case. I have gotten into trouble with this engine and not been able to solve a problem. And I waited just a couple of weeks, and a new model would come out, and that could address the issue entirely. So my confidence is very high. And no one has, we're doing something unique here. No one has really tried to push AI coding in a 3D engine quite as much as we have, to do it in a production environment. And I follow a lot of graphics programmers on X, people who are leads on Unity, people who are leads on Unreal Engine, and they're all using AI. A lot of them, most of them are, and they're complaining about it. They're like, "Oh, this code doesn't do that or that," but they're still using it, and they're writing their own experimental engines with it. But most of these are in Three.js on the web, running in your browser, or they are only loading test levels. Like there's popular levels like Sponsa from Intel, and another level called Bistro, which is a cafe from Amazon. And these guys, they're running that, and they're doing a great job. Their engines probably run 3 times faster than what I'm doing right now. And but no one's really said, can we make a full game with it? So I went quiet. I went quiet on you guys for uh, several months because I wasn't sure this was going to work. Oh, I just lost control. My mouse is fighting with the controller. I wasn't sure this was going to work. And so I had to make sure that it worked, and I knew I couldn't, and I had to prove it. I couldn't just tell you that we were writing a new engine. I had to prove that it actually worked. I couldn't just come back and show you a cube and some lights and say, hey, we have an engine. So what I decided to do was to take the Steam install and use AI to reverse engineer all the data formats and basically take all the Firefall levels. Oh, my wireless on my controller is fritzing out. Hang on a second. And take wireless, I'm just going to switch to mouse for this. I don't know what's up with my controller, guys. It's been, Windows is saying it's disconnecting and reconnecting. All right, and actually bring Firefall back to life. So all of this should look familiar, because if we can stress the engine with actual production levels of a massive scale, of an MMO scale, and put them in here, then we know we have an engine that will work for Ember, and that is what's important. And I wanted to make sure we could do everything the Firefall engine could do and more. And so this was a huge test of that. And you can see we even have our assets in here. We have our Thumper, and he's animating in here. The animation engine is Oz, by the way. It's an open source library that we use. There he is. So you can see that we've combined Firefall and Ember together for this demo. Now he does have some clipping on his animation. That is not the engine. That is because I grabbed the first animations I could find. And unfortunately, those were early ones where we hadn't fixed the clipping yet. And I didn't have time to change it. So, but I think you get the point. He looks pretty cool. This engine is also very different from Firefall. I want to mention that. That is not, we're not running the Firefall engine. We didn't just clone the Firefall engine or reverse engineer it or anything like that. This is a very different architecture. Firefall was written in DirectX 9 and was, a product of its day, was what's called deferred renderer. And what we're running is on Vulkan, and we are running with a what's called a viz buffer and forward plus renderer with light culling. So we have clustered light culling as well. And that's a lot of terms. You can look them up later. It's not important. I just want to point out that the engine's very different. And it has some improvements over the Firefall engine. So it has things like contact shadows. It has better ambient occlusion. It has of course, it supports full PBR materials. Firefall, you couldn't do a texture like metal. Basically, it was simulated, and we can do that now with Unreal style physically based materials. Now you'll notice the textures are a little blurry. That's a limitation that we unfortunately have because Firefall actually had better textures than this. It's not just because Firefall is an old game. It's because that the highest levels of texture resolution were not actually on the install. The install is already about, I think, 15 gigs for Firefall. And that was a lot back in the day. So what we did was we put the high-res textures in on Amazon in what's called a CDN, and we streamed them to you as you ran around the world. And that was our solution for this. All right, let me see if I can do this now. All right, I got controller back. Does this look familiar, guys? You notice we have emissive lighting too, so it's suffering from temporal aliasing right now. But you can see that we're trying to do a very cheap bounce so that we can get surfaces lit by the emissives here. And Firefall actually had a version of that, and we're just trying to improve it a little bit more. I try to avoid any form of temporal anti-aliasing because I don't like the way that Unreal gets so smeary and blurry, and that a lot of that's due to their temporal anti-aliasing. So what I try to do is keep that to a minimum, and we have to implement some of it to get rid of some of the shadow vibration, the ambient occlusion vibration, and things like that. But we will try to keep it to a minimum and try to keep a crisp, very not Unreal looking situation here. All right, so we have a lot of this loading. You remember this place? Remember Tiki Totems? Lots of memories here. We spent a lot of time here, didn't we? The dunce cap, yes. So, there used to be a flame up there. I don't have individual what we call doodads loaded right now, but there was the tiki flame up there, and I remember many a dunce hat perched atop there. People haven't seen this game in a long time, 10 years. Been a long time. And I gotta tell you, when I first got the zones loading, it made me cry. I cried a little. I'm not ashamed to admit that. It was a very emotional moment. It's probably hitting Firefall players pretty hard right now. I know it. I know that Faye and Ronan also had emotional reactions to seeing this again. It's just a reminder of why we're doing this, right? Why are we making Ember? It's because this game never saw its full potential. They took the great version that was in beta and they pretty much I don't know. They kind of ruined it. They kind of tried to make it into WoW. And it's not meant to be WoW. There's not supposed to be a level system or anything like that. And that is unfortunate. And so we wanted to bring a spiritual successor back to the fans of Firefall. And what better way to start with that than to prove that we can do everything that Firefall does, right? So that's why that's another reason why we're doing the Firefall level here. So this was a lot of work. This wasn't a single prompt or anything like that. You really do have to know a little bit of what you're doing. You have to know how games are put together. You have to know how renderers are put together. And I learned a lot. Like I'm no render engineer, right? I'm a gameplay programmer, but I know about game engines. I've been in game engines for a long time. And so I was able to use that knowledge and I learned as I went. And so when they would get something wrong, the AIs would mess up, I would go in and learn about it, and then I could help guide it to a solution. So that was actually very useful, and it was a very big growing experience for me. All right, I'm taking requests. You guys want to see anything in particular? Those of you who are in prior chief chats, hold back. Let's let the new guys make requests. But I pretty much have all of New Eden and all of Sir Tao loaded. I'm going to hold off on that vehicle question for now. No bikes. I'll tell you that. No bikes. I mean, I could literally put a bike in and it wouldn't take that much time. That's the amount of features we're able to do code wise. Art is another issue. Art's still a very human thing, but the amount of code features we can put in is very rapid at this point. All right. I'm just going to go up here then. I'll give you a tour. Now you will see some pop in. That's not our engine so much as the way Firefall did its mega texture, mega chunk technique to load all this stuff in. And they hit it with, so there was heavy fog in the game, but we decided to push it way out so you can see much farther. And we're going to have to address the pop in some other ways. But given that we're a meshlet based renderer, there might be a solution using that approach to give you some really smooth LOD. But I don't want to promise anything yet. And I also want to make sure that we don't overload this engine and that we can still run effectively on lower end machines. I'd like to hit like 30 FPS on a Steam machine, for example. And right now we're doing about 114 frames. If I turn off some features, then I'll get to 140 frames. And my goal is to get this to about 240, leaving some room for animation so we can have a lot of swarmers, a lot of Sihu, that type of thing. So there's more work to do on optimization, but I'm actually pretty surprised at how fast it got it just out of the box. And I did have to refactor it once or twice, but it laid a stronger and stronger foundation each time. And that was good. All right, let's go over here. It should look familiar. This is one for one what Firefall was on release. Now, I have a few quibbles. because the release tried to jam in too much stuff, broke up a lot of our scenic vistas, which I think are important in an open world game, is to have that moment like you're on vacation and you go to Vista Point and you just take a moment to soak in how beautiful the world is and feel immersed in it. I think that's important. But when they went to a level based WoW system, they chopped all of New Eden up, which was supposed to be one zone, into multiple micro leveling zones, which made no sense to me. And in order to have content in those micro zones, I mean, look, there's just human made structures wherever you look, and it got a little too crowded for my taste. I think you need to give players breathing room. And I think it has to, you should do populated areas and you should just see areas where you don't see much at all. And coming across something feels like an adventure. So this is often requested. Anybody know where I'm going? No, they took XP Valley out, sadly. One of the funnest things in the game. This is Sunken Harbor. That should look familiar. I spent a lot of time here. Remember Terremoto and the bike races? It's all coming back, isn't it? Terra Motor Mouth Whisper. And do you remember Home Gang, our open PvP zone with the pirate ship? It's pretty cool. I like how we mix stuff up in Firefall, where we did pirate ships with technology. And that's a theme we're going to carry over to Ember. There's going to be that sort of mix of stuff, I think. Um, this is obviously in Ember, it would be counted as a terraform region because the rest of the planet is volcanic. And this would be an area where they terraformed. And we even have the melding, guys, straight from the game, just like how you remember it, lightning flashes and all. Whisper, what's wrong? You said stop. Oh, thank you. My wife just gave me a matcha. We're on a matcha kick. Whole family's converted over to drinking matcha. Do you guys don't know what that is? I don't even know what it is. I thought it was a tea. It's not a tea. Some Asian thing. Well, someone's asking, when do we get to download this? Well, unfortunately, we don't own Firefall, right? And so I have the engine and I've imported the assets, but I cannot distribute the assets. And that's kind of a challenge for us right now. But we are going to open source the viewer and the data formats for both the terrain system as well as the mega texture system here. And hopefully the guys, the good folks over at the Melding Wars or something, can do something with that. But we will not be distributing the assets of Firefall in any way, shape, or form. Now, some people have asked if there's a way around that, and technically there is. I could potentially give you guys a converter and you could use that converter to, if you own a copy of Firefall and you have it on Steam and it's a free to play game, and I think the download link is actually might be still active, then you could go ahead and potentially run the converter and do all this. But I'm not sure if we're going to go there yet. I got to ask a few questions. That's something we want to keep really crystal clear. And so at the same time, I want to continue to develop using the Firefall level for scale for tuning our jetpacks, for example, because it's very difficult to tune jetpacks if you don't have a sense of scale, and we want to match the Firefall feel, right? Actually, I think our jetpacks feel a little bit better. But we want to match the feel and match the scale of the world. So we're going to continue to do gameplay and code features here because code we can do very rapidly. Art we cannot. Art is human bound, human limited, and needs funding too, right? You have to hire artists and things like that. So what I'd like to do is use Firefall sort of as a temporary art stop, where it both as a guide and as inspiration, and also to do update videos for you guys when we drop in new features and gameplay. And then as we start to replace this over with Ember original art, then we can start dropping builds to you guys. But again, I will look into a viewer just for fun. I'll ask around, and that's potentially one thing we could do. Well, I don't want to use AI art for main things, right? Like I have no problem if it's a plant, or a tree or a lamppost or that type of thing. But I'm not happy with the quality of AI art for characters or for hero assets yet. I think that still really needs the human touch, as well as the art direction. And so, while I'm not opposed to using generative AI, I don't see it as viable yet because I don't want to put anything in here where AI makes it worse. AI makes the code better and makes the code and feature drops a lot faster. So that's good. We keep that. AI takes the drudge work. I don't have to hire a rock artist. There are literally artists on teams. All they do are seashells like this and rocks and things like that. I think that's a waste of everybody's time and it underutilizes the artist's talent. And so I don't mind using AI for that. But when we get to characters and things like that, I think that needs the human touch. So we are still going to need funding on the art side, and that's going to be a slower process because it's a human process, and and I think it's a good process too. And so we are doing fundraising for that. We're going to have to do fundraising for that. To that end, packs are 50% off right now, and or any upgrade or any pack. And we could use subscribers. If you were a former subscriber, come back to us because that's really the backbone. That handles all the expenses for the server, for the AI. We have token expenses now, right? It costs several $1,000s to get to this point. So it's not free, right? So if you like what you see, if you like what we're doing here, if you like the speed at which we're moving, you can look at progress.noclip360.com to see that we have gained not only one order of magnitude increase in speed, but two. We're nearly 100 times faster now on code and features than we were before. And that's what the project sorely needed. That's why I made the big bet. And that's why I hope you're with me that this is a good decision for the game going forward. And you're going to see that. You're going to see as we drop more update videos and things, the progress tracker will be updated and you'll be able to see exactly what we've been working on down to the day, down to the hour, pretty much every commit you're going to see. I don't have a tracker for the art side yet, but the engine actually includes a Blender plugin, and that Blender plugin communicates with the game, and the AI can drive it. And so when I need to, it's been a time saver. When I needed to export an asset or say to get that thumper in the build, I didn't do anything manual. I just told it what I wanted, where to find the assets, how to import it, and it mapped the animations itself. It handled all of that itself. Oh, we got a lighting bug here. That's a new one. I haven't seen that one before. Do you remember the spawning pools? Guys, I spent a lot of time here too. This was in the early Firefall gameplay walkthrough demo too. It's wild to see it again. So Blue Flounder asks if we can just replace assets. The layout of the map has to change, but the vibe is what I want. When I talked about the common terraform zone for Ember, I wanted it to be this sort of ocean tropical setting that we see in Firefall. So it's going to have a very similar look. It possibly may be even more stylized than this because I like the stylized nature. It stands out over all the photorealism that's happening right now in gaming. And I'd like someone to look at a screenshot from Ember and go, that's Ember, that's unique, and to instantly recognize it. And stylized also helps art time. because with photorealism, you're spending a lot of time getting things realistic, and I'd rather just get things to look interesting and good, right? And to provoke an emotional response. I think that's very important in art. That you're not trying to convey realism. What you're trying to do is provoke an emotion, a feeling. Just like what you're seeing right now is bringing back the memories. That's what's important. And another philosophy that Firefall had, and really unfortunate, right? Is Bill Petrus, the art director for Firefall originally. He really set the look and feel for all of this. Oops, I walked into a rock. We don't have terrain collision yet. And his philosophy was that terrain has to look good from above. It should be stylized from above, not just at ground level. And especially for a game like Firefall, where you're gliding around, I think that's important. Unfortunately, Bill passed away last year, very young still, and he was one of my best friends, and we started the company together. We had a falling out, but that doesn't change the fact that he's a brilliant artist, and I always considered him a really close friend. And we spent many years together and dreaming about doing Firefall together. So, Billy, this is for you. I hope we can bring some of it back and honor your art philosophy and your art style. All right. I'll go along here, give you guys a scenic tour. We're going to make our way to a couple of familiar stops. We do have dynamic time of day. That sun can actually be scrubbed. There's an entire web dashboard that attaches to this. And when I call it up, I can tweak basically any settings in the game. One of the most important things to do is to let AI drive. So the AI can actually take control and move around the game world. And it has done that to find bugs and to test functionality. And it's pretty weird to see the game on autopilot. It's not quite perfect yet because AI doesn't have good video vision, for lack of a better word. It can't actually see every frame of the game and process it. You're basically feeding it snapshots along the way. But eventually they're going to have that, and some models already do have video input. All right, just to show you we have interiors too, there's a lot of dungeons in Firefall. We call them dungeons, even though it was a sci fi game. You guys remember this place? I don't. This was built after I left. But we have chosen architecture in here, which I thought was pretty cool. And I deliberately move slowly on these streams so that you can take in what you're seeing. There's a lot of art here. Tremendous amount of stylized art, which is pretty cool. The menacing chosen. They still want your jawbones, by the way. Did they take the jawbone line out? Did the chosen still talk to you in the release version of the game? Or do they not talk anymore? We were going to have so much more chosen architecture. We had entire buildings concepted, entire towns, fortresses. Not all of it made it into the game, unfortunately. I'd like to do Tihu architecture for our game, for Ember. I think that would be cool. It's such a shame that these are blurry textures. That's why I asked in chat cryptically a couple weeks ago before you guys knew what I was doing. I was like, does anybody have an install of Firefall? that they've never ever uninstalled, that they played the heck out of, because then you would have the cache with all the high res textures. And someone sent me a link the other day when I mentioned that. Someone sent me a link, and I'm going to check it out. Maybe it has the high res textures. We'll see. Are you guys feeling this? Does it bring back memories? No, the star chamber was never discovered. We had concepts for it. I don't even know if we modeled it. But the star chamber was ejected from the arc light prior to its crash, if you remember the lore. And we never explained what it was, but it was supposed to be a major part of the storyline of the quest. The main quest. There was going to be a whole main story arc quest with Typhon and Morningstar and Nostromo. Fortunately, they changed all that when I left. Well, maybe one day I'll reveal what the Star Chamber was. Or we stick it in Ember, since they never used it. Today is one day, Sinclair says. Sinclair, your name is from Firefall. Is that deliberate? Is that a deliberate choice? Does anybody remember a Lieutenant Sinclair in Firefall? So we got everything loading. We have the vegetation. And so everything that's working here in Engine, we can use in Ember. The terrain system, the mega chunk system, the vegetation system, uh, that's all on the table. Now we could also improve it. There's, like I said, there's things we can do with LOD. There's things we can do with um, making the terrain even more feature capable than it was back in the DX9 days. And we're going to be looking at that. But the idea is, hey, we got it, right? Everything that Firefall has, we could build Ember just on this technology. We probably don't need to build anything else. And I think that's a good thing. In Unreal, we would have to use their technology. We'd have to learn it. And let me talk about Unreal. There's a hidden tax with using Unreal. There's a hidden cost, especially to indie studios. And when you're trying to do complicated things like a streaming open world or some of the other features I've talked about, like we are rendering. This isn't just a map, guys. This is a planet we're on. Okay, this is a planetary scale renderer, actually a solar system scale renderer, and this can do a lot. This can do an entire planet because you know that the home space station is supposed to be in orbit. And so we're actually rendering an entire planet right now. So beyond that melding, there's more stuff. Now it's not populated, not like Firefall, map, which is only, by the way, 4 kilometers square, 4 kilometers by 4 kilometers. It's a lot smaller than I thought. They just crammed a lot of stuff into it. Oh, here's a popular spot. Thump Dump. I just get distracted. I walk around. I'm like, oh, look at that. Look at that. You guys remember Thump Dump? This is where all the thumpers would fire off that were used in mining. They would like launch. They would launch out of there. Now we didn't get the actual thumpers in there, but we did get Thump Dump, and it's huge. Look at all that. It's a lot going on. I think they added this top portion after. I don't remember this platform being here. I have to admit, I could not play retail Firefall. It broke my heart. The changes they made, getting rid of didn't they got rid of thumping? Didn't they get rid of thumping and they got rid of secondary fire and they just changed it all up? Not for the better, it turns out. That's when things started to go downhill. They changed progression. Yeah, it went to level based, which I was so against. I was like, we're not doing WoW again, guys. We're not doing level based stuff. But hey, the owners, that's what they wanted. They wanted World of Warcraft with guns, and so they changed it all. They removed crafting. These are like the core tenets of Firefall. We're bringing that back, boys. We're bringing back crafting. We're bringing back thumping. How are you supposed to enjoy the game without thumping and crafting? That was like the core gameplay. Did they switch to a loot based system? They made it just like WoW, didn't they? That was the last thing I wanted to do is make it like the last game I worked on. The whole point was to get away from the tropes of WoW because everyone at the time was copying WoW and everyone was failing because you had WoW. Why would you play another game with the same mechanics as WoW when you had World of Warcraft? I wanted to go in a different direction. No levels, more about crafting your progression, and we'll bring that back. All right, I'm going to use the mouse to move a little faster here. So the streaming is multi-threaded. It's not going to lock up or anything. I can go really fast, but it's dependent on the speed of my SSD because everything is basically a diced up pieces of mesh being streamed in by the thousands. And so in Firefall, what we did is we capped your drop ship and glide speeds so that you could never go faster than reasonable. But even then, you still had popping. And they hit it with fog, and you're going to see this load here. So I'll just wait here, and eventually it'll catch up. It's literally loading in thousands and thousands of meshes right now. And because I basically teleported across the map, I went super fast. It needs a little time to catch up. Not that much time though. It's already here. You guys remember this tunnel on bikes? Sure you do. This was the often traveled tunnel. And does anybody remember where it leaves? Where it leads? Leads here, TransHub. You guys remember TransHub, right? I think it still looks good. Yeah, Nostromo's office was here. Yep, that's his desk. He's not here, of course, but I think this is his. Is this his office? It's somewhere around here. But yeah, look at all the platforms and balconies. This was made for gliding. This was made for verticality. And that's something I forgot. I forgot how vertical Firefall really was. Something important to remember for Ember. And I think it was an inspiration for Anthem too. There's when I run around here, it really reminds me of Anthem, and I think they got some inspiration from us. All right, you guys remember this? This is Faye's favorite place. This is the infamous ski jump. Faye, how many times did you take a motorcycle down this ramp? At least once. I think it was more than once. I think she hasn't fully reported her journey here. But look at that view. Unlike Firefall, we can see all the way out, all the way to the horizon of the planet. That's the horizon out there. That dark shape on the horizon beyond the melding. That's actually the planet. Now, obviously, we're not going to do the whole planet for Ember. We're going to have the main hub, and then we're going to have the mission maps. And you can take a dropship or a dropship ride from home up in orbit, or a dropship from here. I thought I'd fix that shadow bug. Sorry, guys. It's there on the water. It has come back to haunt me. I got to figure out why. Like Helldivers 2? Yeah, I guess. Or like Deep Rock Galactic. We were always going to have 2 kilometer maps or half a kilometer maps that you could go into on missions. And then we were going to have the central area where that was more open world. Maybe you don't know. Maybe I haven't talked about this in a long time. All right. You guys want to see Sir Tao? I'll take the mouse for a faster tour. See how the mouse just kind of like... I should enable mouse smoothing, but I can't do those nice smooth pans with the mouse. I tried to do Crystite, guys. It didn't work. Crystite's a complex shader, and I didn't have time, so you just get blue rocks for now. Sorry about that. There's a different type of Crystite, like a dark Crystite. Let me see if I can find it. And, oh, but first, you guys remember Dredge? I'll switch back joystick. This was in the original announcement trailer, and we had Chosen invading here, and you had to run up. And when you got to this view, you saw a giant Titan. We called them Titans up there, 3-legged Titan. It was actually meant to be a kaiju, right? So that's why we have kaiju and Ember. It's really part of the original vision of Firefall. And in order to, the video ended with you climbing up to this gun, and was it this? Yeah, I think it was this gun, manning it, and then shooting the kaiju and taking it out, and that's where we ended the video. And you notice the guns have this World War I feeling to them. That's because Bill, rest his soul, was a huge military buff, World War I, World War II, and he wanted this retro look for the guns. So that's why it looks like that and not sci-fi. He loved blending a whole bunch of stuff together. And we have the sci-fi cannons as well. But really, this was more Bill's style right here. Big, clunky, World War I, World War II, artillery based. So that's Dredge. Yep, everything's here, guys. Someone asked me, can you load the other maps like Blackwater Anomaly? I could. There's a web viewer that I had created to test our guesses on how the terrain worked, and that loads all the maps in Firefall, including Blackwater. And I just didn't import it into the engine, but potentially I could do that. But really, I don't think I will. I think there's plenty of stuff to work with right now, and we have the proof that the engine works. What we want to do now is get our characters in there and get us walking around, jetpacking in this environment, tuning everything so it fits the Firefall world. And that's going to happen very quickly, feature-wise. Art-wise, I'm torn because the Omni frame I don't think looks very good, and it's not representative, right? I would love to get our characters into a light frame and running around in a light frame first because that fits the scale better, and then you get the medium frame and the heavy frame. But again, all that has to be modeled. Needs an art budget to do that. I'd like to get Toshi back, but he's got to put bread on the table, man. He can't just do this out of passion. But yeah, it's kind of amazing the amount of detail that was piled in. Now the frame rate's interesting because there is a way to run the original Firefall client if you use the Melding Wars, I think they call it a PIP server or something like that, that you can get off GitHub. You can actually load the original client and walk around here. The graphics won't be quite as nice, right? Because we've updated everything. But you can go to these locations. But even with VSync off, I was only getting about 140 frames in Firefall. It's just very taxing to render a huge open world, you know. And I think Firefall didn't scale well to modern graphics cards. So right now I'm the same speed as Firefall is on my machine. And we'll go from there. This is the second type of crystite. I failed. It just came out like glass. I'm sorry. It's such an iconic thing in Firefall, the main energy resource. Wait, did they still have crystite in the game after launch, or did they take that out too? Was it just a rock in the ground with no meaning or lore? So what was crystite used for if they took out mining and thumping? Just money? That's sad. Wait, what's that, son? They did. Just shocked my son, who memories of Firefall when he was very young. He's like, "What? They removed mining?" It's the first he's heard of it. He never played retail. It's like, what? The outrage is fresh. The wound freshly opened. It's just beautiful, guys. I mean, yeah, the graphics are dated. Uh, maybe not. I think this look still holds up. It's just, if we had tried for photorealism, it would look super dated right now. But I think this still holds up in its own way. And guys, this is the worst it will ever look, right? Like this is when we get our own assets in here, it's going to look very different. What are we loading? I feel like something should be here. Nope. Okay. Zab, I'm excited too because this is a huge inspiration, right? And getting back to the roots of Firefall and making the home zone look familiar like this, I think that's important for to be a spiritual successor. I think that's important. So this is what happens when they terraform. When the settlers in Ember terraform the planet, they turn it into something like this. Oh, so thumping did exist till the end? It's just a worthless activity? That's sad. Unfortunately, we didn't get the waterfalls in. That was there was not enough time. But this was the original dropship path through here through the falls. I remember this. There used to be a waterfall right there. But yeah, it's a huge draw distance, guys. It reminds me of Crimson Desert. Crimson Desert, you can just see forever. Firefall tried to do that back in the day. Got pretty far for the tech at the time. Oh wait! I got a memory down here. Remember the bikes? This was my favorite style. where we did this retro-like bike here. I loved that. All right, Brent, thank you for stopping by. Sorry about the name mix-up. We'll fix it. The community will fix it. They will come up with a different name. Thank you very much. Brent's going to miss the one thing I was going to show you, which is right over here. Unfortunately, you can tell him about it later, maybe. We'll fix it in post. I can't get enough of this. I come back to this and I load it up and I just walk around. I just, it's such an inspiration. All right. That is something new that we did just the other morning. It is a pilotable dropship. It finally flies. You can finally pilot it. Whisper, is this a wedding? Something blue. But yeah, this map is a lot smaller than I remember. And the fact that I'm just zooming all around it um, really shrinks the world. So I'm moving fast or faster than a typical dropship might in a taxi. I can't crash. I haven't added collision yet. There is collision in the engine. We use jolt physics, and everything here is actually client server. This dropship is being replicated to the server, which is running locally on my machine right now. But there's no collision yet. We've had collision. I had a marble rolling around that would collide against objects in the test level that we had, but not in here. I haven't implemented collision for the terrain yet. And there is an audio engine, a nascent one. It can like stream music, and it does play basic sound effects, but that is a little nascent. It's not yet fully developed, so there's no sound yet. But there is one thing I want to show you, and I think one way to end this demo on a high note is let me reset the dropship back to Copa. And I'm actually going to get out of the dropship for this because the max speed of the dropship is just not fast enough to convey this. Those are real volumetric clouds that we can fly through. And you can see just how small the Firefall map really is on this giant planet, which is only the size of our moon, our Earth moon. But that's still very, very large. It just gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. That was it, dude. That was all of Firefall down there. Now, this planet had to be procedurally generated because I couldn't get satellite data fine enough resolution to show anything. And then I exaggerated things like the mountains. So there's actually a little simple tectonic plate continent simulator here that moves everything into position at load time. And then you get the whole planet here. You get the nebula. The nebula is volumetric too, so you can actually fly through that. And this isn't a space game. I don't want to lead anybody on. But remember that we're supposed to have the home space station in orbit and be able to take missions and drop down to it. Well, we finally have the technology for that. And eventually, I would like to do a space game after this one is done. And so I wanted an engine that could do that. And remember that Ember is a volcanic planet. So you have, volcanic activity on the surface until you terraform it. Then it's a tropical paradise, right? But yeah, you can go anywhere on this planet. Now we don't have full terrain on the bottom, but I can show you what it's like. And the idea is that these mission areas would be here, right? Like we put them on the surface of themselves. And then all of Firefall would fit right about there, that entire level. That's how big all this is. That's how exaggerated the mountains are. But it's kind of crazy. This was that last feature that I was working on that I didn't tell you guys what it was. I said just one more thing. We had the planet, but I wanted to get it looking semi decent, and so I thought that that was worth it, especially since I'm going to show you where we end up. Whisper asked if we're going to do a ray trace sound system. I don't think that's a problem. You fire so few rays during audio path tracing that I think we can do that, especially since we're fully integrated with our engine. We control the sound engine. We control um, everything else about it. All right, so I have to actually use the AI for this because I cannot remember where I put it. Oh, let me slow the camera down. This is the thing I learned from last demo is I got to make the camera super slow because I'm going hundreds of kilometers an hour right now. I'm asking the AI to move me. But yeah, so basically you'll start off on the home station. You'll protect the home open world zone from kaiju attack, and then you'll go on missions on the mission maps. And there she is, flying again, no longer crashed. The arc light. It felt so good to see the arc light again. It had been so long. Yeah, the last demo, Giga, the last demo, you were there. I lost the arc light twice because I was moving so fast. I zoomed by it, and the AI noticed, and it tried. It said, "I'm going to start checking the code for why you can't find the arc light." It's like, no, I'm just dumb. It's me. Don't change anything. I just zoomed past it, and then I was like, okay, I see what's going on here. Human error. Silly humans. But this looks just like the poster. We every chat we do this, I like maneuver it right where where the poster would be. And that brings back so much memories by themselves. So many memories. What do you guys think? Do we do good? Yeah. The pepcac error count by the AI. It should have a counter. AI, as much as I get frustrated with the AI is frustrated with me. Was there anything planned for Arclight's original destination when making Firefall, or was it just lore? No, the Arclight was crashed in Fortaleza, right? That was an important part of the lore. So they were just trying to fold space. It was an experiment at faster than light travel, and there wasn't a specific destination, but there was going to be another race, a third race in Firefall. Actually, more than three. We had the Ascendants, which were a sci-fi sort of spacefaring race, and we also had the Falcari, and those are supposed to be in Firefall as well. But we only ended up with the Human and the Chosen. Those supposed to be the Humans, the Falcari, and the Ascendants were kind of like a triumvirate. And in the early concept art, you can see we had great looking Falcari, we had great looking Ascendants, but we just never got around to it, unfortunately. You guys don't know about the Falcari? Is that not on the web anywhere? Oh, help coming in 7 years. Oh, you're right, because they were actually going to, was it Alpha Centauri? Where were they going? They were going to someplace. You're right, you're right. This is coming back to me now. They're yeah, and they were, gosh, this is really old lore. Really old lore. I don't even remember it because it got revised many times. You're right. You totally reminded me. Thank you. Right, because the old method before the arc light took a long time. So there was a ship on the way, and Earth was expecting a ship to arrive from Alpha Centauri, and the arc light was supposed to be the fast travel mode. Was supposed to be the fast way to get there. Yeah, it's coming back to me now. So little known fact, I don't know if you guys remember, but Orson Scott Card helped with the story. And I remember sitting in a room with him, and I'd pitch him my entire lore for the game, and he would just kind of shake his head and then tell me off, tell me why the lore was shit. And I got offended. I was like, "Who is this guy? Who is this guy telling me how to change my story?" And then I remember, oh wait, it's one of your favorite authors, Orson Scott Card. I'm like, of course I'm going to listen to. That was funny. Good memories. Good memories. All right, guys, I think this is a good place to end the demo on a high note, seeing the arc light fly again. I want to thank you all for sticking with us. I think we've turned the corner here. I think that the pace is going to be tremendously faster on the code and feature side. What we need help with is the art side. So if you subscribed in the past and are no longer subscribed, please resub. We have stuff for subscribers coming very soon. And if you can see your way to an upgrade or a pack before we close those out, because we're going to replace them with something more simplified in the future for true newcomers, we're going to start outreaching again to build the community up even more. Please consider that. They are 50% off right now. It's a good deal. We don't offer that deal very often. And yeah, I just, this feels good. It's been extremely wonderful past 3 chief chats, and the feeling has been so good, and the positivity has been so good, and I'm really just grateful to all of you to see all the familiar names back in here. I want to thank Ronan and Faye and all the moderators for all their help. They've stuck by too, and they've been working these chief chats on their precious weekend, and I really appreciate that. So thank you all. Yeah, it's been really, really good and really, really emotional and inspiring at the same time. We're back on mission, folks. All right, with that, I will leave you to Ronan to take us on out.
Awesome. Thank you, Grums. Thank you to everybody who's joined us again for this Chief Chat. It has been a good time coming back. Frankly, I've missed these so much. You guys give me a certain kind of energy that I get nowhere else. And it's just been a good time. Faye, would you like to sign off before I say goodbye?
We're back, y'all. It's good to be back.
Awesome. So, until next time, Deep Strike!